During COVID, like many Americans, I made my way into the garden and immediately became enamored with Native American cultural gardening practices, like this beans growing on corn. What struck me about these gardening practices in particular was their intense connection with the local ecosystem around them. Unlike many Americans, this led me to step outside of the garden and into the wild. Where would my garden have been living 200 years ago? In what turns out to be one of the coolest, most diverse ecosystems on the planet, the prairie. With the climate crisis heating up our planet, people are coming up with a lot of different solutions. Most of them involve this, or even this, but in reality, it's prairies. When I say prairie, you might be thinking of a giant field full of grass, and that's partially true. We have native species like this bluestem here, but that's only what 40% of prairies are. The other 60% is composed of wildflowers, like this common milkweed, New York ironweed, and even coneflowers. In sharp contrast to the plain hayfields composed of invasive grasses that dominate North America today, prairies contain incredible diversity. Just 1 square meter of prairie contains the equivalent of 20 of the Amazon rainforest. Prairies are said to play an important role as drought-resistant ecosystems. They're phenomenal carbon sinks, with roots oftentimes deeper than I am tall. Grasslands here store up to 12% of all terrestrial carbon on Earth, with 80% of their biomass below ground. Prairie ecosystems began storing carbon at a far faster rate than forests, making them an essential partner for fighting the climate crisis quickly. Globally, restoring grasslands has the potential to decrease atmospheric CO2 by 50 parts per million in just 50 years. These deep roots also filter water and then store it, recharging aquifers that are crucial for safe drinking water, wells, and farmers. Many prairie plants, such as these sunflowers, are already used to clean soil pollution of toxins. Additionally, they prevent devastating floods by allowing rainwater to enter the soil at a faster rate than lawns. Part of the reason flooding has become such a problem in the past few decades is a large-scale removal of prairies, which act as vast rain gardens, storing water in the soil and stopping runoff. By restoring tracts of prairies, we can prevent flooding immediately, preventing damaging inundations that harm communities and farmers. Their benefits for farmers go further than just water. They're important habitat for many of the 4,000 species of pollinating bees that call America home. These wild bees are incredibly important for our food supply, with 1/3 of all calories and 75% of the diversity of our crops relying on the pollination. Prairie strips, sections of prairie between traditional row crops, show great promise in helping to promote this important pollinator service, with flowers like this ironweed and this coreopsis. Sadly, these diverse and useful prairie ecosystems are under threat. Less than 4% of original prairie is remaining in the United States, and in some places like Illinois, it's less than 0.5%. We need to do more to be able to protect these precious ecosystems. How? Education. Prairies used to be the predominant ecosystem from the Appalachians to the Rocky Mountains, but part of the reason they're under decline is lack of management. Policies that encourage forest planting lead to trees taking over prairie lands. This is incredibly negative for these diverse and valued ecosystems. This mismanagement is a result of a lack of education. Early pioneers like Jay Morton, the founder of Arbor Day, didn't like prairies and bemoaned their lack of trees, with Jay Morton calling for the prairie to be snatched from the obscurity of uselessness and forever dedicated to the support of the Anglo-Saxon race. Unfortunately, attitudes like this persist to the modern day, with tens of millions of acres plowed under and razed since Morton's speech in the early 1850s, including 1.3 million acres lost between 2006 and 2011 alone. Besides wanton destruction, prairies are also under threat from mismanagement. Native Americans who started fires that regularly burned prairie areas for millennia were important stewards of their environment. These fires were really important for fire-adapted ecosystems. They cleared out dead plants and killed trees that would have otherwise shaded out grasslands. Sadly, these fires stopped as we drove Native Americans off of their land. As a result, tree encroachment has happened rapidly, with trees like this taking over prairie ecosystems that depend on fire. Many of the forests you see in the Midwest states like Ohio, Illinois, and Iowa do not belong there, with some even planted by early, misguided environmentalists, like Charles Bessey, who planted thousands of trees in the 1930s on historical prairie lands. These historical misunderstandings highlight the need for education on American prairies and ecosystems, as well as urgent restoration work to expand and prevent these unique ecosystems from disappearing forever. Luckily, there are organizations dedicated to this work, like the Native Habitat Project, which works to educate landowners, bring back fire to prairie ecosystems, and reestablish prairies in the places they have gone missing. Others include the Florida Native Plant Society and several nature conservancy projects, including the Glacial Ridge Project, which aims to bring back 37,000 acres of prairie and wetland habitat to Minnesota. I see myself working with initiatives like these or potentially creating new restoration projects. I'm already dedicated to this cause and have been helping where I can, including installing a native plant garden at my house, transplanting wild strawberries between different prairies to increase biodiversity, and even participating in 2 different research projects with the Purdue University and the Ohio State University. Additionally, I've spent my spring breaks as a volunteer camp counselor at a nature camp, allowing me the opportunity to teach and encourage kids about the environment I love so much. I dream to work in the field of prairie restoration professionally and share my love for these amazing ecosystems with the American public. I see prairies playing not only a significant role in the future of conservation, but also in the future of my life. Unfortunately, many jobs in this career field pay poorly, as conservation projects are consistently underfunded. Stevenson's presidential scholarship would allow me to realistically work in the nonprofit sector and dedicate myself to this work that I love so much. I thrive in an intimate setting, and speaking from those at Stevenson, I know that this school would be an amazing fit for me. My hope is to double major in both environmental sciences and biology. Additionally, a full ride would allow me to continue my education in graduate school. There is still so much to learn and understand about prairies, and my path will hopefully involve meaningful research in the master's or doctorate program after my time at Stevenson. I feel really lucky to have found prairies. So many people go through life without finding something they're truly passionate about, and I know I'm fortunate to have stumbled across something at such a young age. I hope that I've been able to give you a really nice glimpse into such a magical ecosystem, and whether or not you consider me for a presidential scholarship, you come away with just a little bit of awe that I feel for these spaces every day.